Hi, I'm Sylvia Baddeley and I live in the city of Stoke-on-Trent, a potter born and bred as we say up north. I became interested in the family of the woman that I'm going to talk to you about when I discovered the grave of her 2-year-old child, completely overgrown in a local church. I went on to research the family and was amazed by what I discovered. When I discovered what she'd achieved and what she'd achieved that had impacted in such a big way on our city, I decided that this woman needed to be known by more people than just me. The aim of making a documentary about this woman is to let the people of Stoke-on-Trent know about the history of this woman's family and how it's so intertwined with the history of Stoke-on-Trent. We are literally joined at the hip. If you look around our city, you'll see that there are streets named after the family all over the place. There are parklands given. There were politicians and Lord Mayors from this family in the city's history. And we are literally joined at the hip. And the achievements of the family are scattered across the city like, counters on a playing board almost. They are everywhere. And yet, if you ask people, do you know about Millicent Sutherland Leveson Gower, the 4th Duchess, the last Duchess to live at Trentham Hall, most people have never heard of her. And so my aim is to let people know who she is and also about these fantastic achievements that she made on behalf of our city, which are still impacted in all the families and the healthcare systems and the education systems that we have, even today. When I've produced a documentary, what I want to do is to turn it into a DVD that we can share with everyone. Because the legacy of Millicent as it stands is a very paltry one. Arnold Bennett was famously quoted as calling her Meddlesome Millie. And we need to remember that the Duchess, Millicent, lived in a time when women were seen and definitely not heard. Plus, she achieved so much as a woman of her standing. She could have had this life of great ease and luxury because she was married to the richest man in the country, with huge houses and estates, and she chose not to. She chose to go down a very different path. And yet, most of us that live in this city, who are probably still benefiting from the things that she set up in place, have never heard of her. And I think that's a travesty. I think that instead of remembering Meddlesome Millie, we should be remembering Marvellous Millie. I think that, we are our history, aren't we? Our history impacts on who and what we are now. And I think a huge chunk of this city's history is missing if you leave out someone that made such an impact on this city in really only 2 or 3 generations ago. We're talking about 100 years ago. And, that is a great travesty to me. Our city's history is not complete without us knowing what this woman did. We know an awful lot about the family that Millicent married into, and indeed Millicent's family roots, which were in Scotland. But do we know anything about Millicent's achievements? No. And I think that's the travesty, that we don't know anything about her. And I want to put that right. And hopefully this documentary will do just that. Anyone watching and listening to me talking about Millicent will probably know by now that I'm quite passionate about her. And I want to spread the word. And what we would like, hopefully, are some financial donations that would help us to, when we've completed the documentary, that would help us to produce a quality DVD about her life. Your contribution for doing that, for supporting us, would be to get a copy of the DVD, and also we would give you a private first viewing when we've completed it. And we would be available to give you more information if you wanted it about the history of Trentham Hall, but especially about this amazing woman, Millicent.